I always have to dance to that.
I love that.
I
All
do
right.
too.
So, welcome everybody. Welcome, Linda. You have a great topic to discuss. And I really think, with everything and all the conversations I've had this week with so many people, it is a great conversation to have. So, go ahead and lead the conversation.
I will. I will try not to cough in your ear. Hold on a second. We're going to talk today about focus. And excuse me while I focus on clearing my throat. Brittany, I'm going to hand over to you for a minute.
Sounds good. So, focus is an amazing conversation to have. Thank you, viewers. We see that you are here. Super excited to have you. Let us know who you are so we can recognize you. And if you have a business, put it in the chat, please. We love to share and really support each other. So, I love focus. And Linda and I actually talked about this earlier this week. I can't. I cannot focus. I have clients, I have friends, I have all of the things. So I go and I do things. And last week, I ended up creating a vertex of where I stayed up 2 nights in a row and I actually did my work. But I was telling Linda, I'm a tab queen. I've got every tab open so that I can do all the things. And when I came in to my office that night, I said, okay, this is the project. These are the tabs. And I closed everything else. I took my phone, I put it away. Nobody was texting me at midnight, anyways. But I created a vertex. And sometimes those are the things that we have to do. Other times I know somebody who's really struggling right now because they're working, they have to work a 9 to 5 and then they have to come here. And I struggle all the time with that. I actually had to cut hours on my 9 to 5 because I was getting overwhelmed. But I was working my job and my 9 to 5, and my business wasn't like you can't do so much when you're doing this too. And that makes it difficult.
And I think that multitasking, that's been a myth for a very long time. I used to consider myself a great multitasker. But physiologically, the thing you are doing is by rote and ingrained as a habit, you can only do one thing at a time. You can only focus your complete attention on one thing at a time. If you are multitasking, you are dividing your attention between more than one task, and none of the tasks get done at their optimal. So that doesn't mean that you spend all day on one thing. What that means is whatever you're working on right this moment needs to get your full attention, whether it's for 2 minutes, for 15 minutes, whatever that allotted time is, you need to block everything out. And if you are in a work environment where people interrupt you a lot, if you can focus for even 5 minutes at a time and not be trying to do 15 different things, but just focus on one thing, it is better. It seems counterintuitive, but when I was working at my last corporate job, I was I was doing an experiment with things and I didn't they couldn't provide the equipment, so I brought my equipment from home, got their permission to bring my equipment from home. And I had 3 computers running on my desk. They were performing different tasks. And people are like, "Oh, cool, you're getting, you know, how are you doing that?" And I'm like, "This computer over here is running this task. This one is recording something for me. And this one I'm working on." And I literally scheduled times where I would go in and check my email. I had shut off the notifications, the pings, and I knew if I checked my email once every 30 minutes or once an hour to look for the important, the urgent things, that nobody was going to go a long time without being addressed, and I could still focus on my work. So you've got your objective key results, which I know help people focus in on tasks. That's really what we need to do. There's so much noise out here. There's so much noise here, and there's so much noise in here. And we have to be disciplined to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this noise right at this moment. You can't listen to it all, because then it's just a mess. You don't hear the melody. You don't hear the words. You got to take one thing at a time. And
Yeah.
physiologically, what we're meant to do, unless the other activity like driving, that's pretty much a habit. Now think about when you're driving someplace you don't know how to get. You become very focused on looking at the street signs, following the directions on the GPS, whatever. But if you're just driving, taking the kids to school, the car could damn near drive itself, right?
Yeah.
And you can do things. And I remember there were times, I was so ingrained when I got on the highway, I was on my way to work, that after I quit that job, I found myself driving to work every morning. I'd catch myself before I got there, but it was like my mind was doing other things. That wasn't my work anymore.
I love
I
that.
didn't need
And
to go there.
right, and that happens, and you're like, "Oh, I went to the wrong job. I went to the wrong place."
Yeah.
You get used to things, and what I really think, like when you talked about the objective key results, that focuses you in, right? And as business owners and as entrepreneurs, we have this really massive, big world picture for our business. And what ends up happening is we end up, well, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to, we end up this. And when we're able to say, okay, like for me, for instance, last year I was networking and I was promoting a community and I was promoting one on one and I was this and this and this and this and this. And then I shattered my tibia. I had to slow down and I had to look, where can we put the most energy for my company? Do I have these services? Yes. If I put the most energy into building and creating the best community, then that will aid these services. People will want the one-on-one. People will want the team leader, the team grouping that we now do. People will want these different things. So to be able to say, "Hey, I'm an accountability business coach, and I run a community online that gives you support, gives you weekly meetings that are business focused, OKR focused, and it also gives you SEO focused posting." That's easy. Those three things right there. It's a community. The first month is free. Done. And after that first month, if you don't continue with this subscription, you still have access to the group posting and the SEO postings. So why wouldn't you?
Right. Right.
But it took me a whole year and I'm still honing that in, right? I'm still getting that entwined. But my marketing team, they are like, "Hey, you're giving us too many things," because
Yeah.
I'm still focused on, we have to do all these things. Yes, me personally, I'm going to market this one thing, but the emails have to go out. The scheduling apps have to change. There's so much background noise in the business. And that's why I created that vertex. Like you said, I only check emails at this time. If you guys can create a space of, I only check my phone, I only check this, that's really going to help you stay on task. And one of the other things that we talked about, Linda, was really when you're trying to stay focused, you end up with a rabbit hole sometimes. If you
Mhm.
change this, you have to go here and here and here and change it. And that makes life really difficult. So, knowing if this thing gets changed, these are the steps, but being able to say, okay, I can delegate this. Hey, I've made this change. Can you, my VA, follow through with these little steps? Because all they need to be is updated. I did the big part. I need you to go update that. It's huge.
And if you're not in a position to delegate, then before you start the change you're needing to make, map it out so that you can make that one change all the way through. So it's consistent. And again, it sounds counterintuitive, but by focusing your time and your energy and your activity on that one thing, you can actually get a whole lot more of that done than you would if you were all over the place. Um, it's it's also a lot allows you to get the better, clearer picture. And so again, focus and map it out before you start so that you're not having to put out fires, make changes, go back and do things 3, 4 times. Take that little extra time to map it out. And if that means this needs to be done, but I need to do this and work on this first and I can do this later, do that so that it's not. And I love your idea. I'll be setting time aside where I can just work overnight by myself, which I work by myself anyway. But when I was in the working world, I was an IT um, person, and there were things that I scheduled that I went into the office overnight. I'd go in at midnight and I'd work till like 8 in the morning because there was nobody there. And man, could I get a lot done. Like if I had to update the computers, that's when I would do it because I wouldn't be in anybody's way. They wouldn't have downtime. They wouldn't have non-productive time while I'm doing that during the day. You know, we had people that, if they got called in, they came in overnight, but I always had one machine that they could go to. And I would do that one last. But I would get everybody's stuff done. And while all that was going on, I was working on other things. It was wonderful. The phone wasn't ringing. I'm old. My pager wasn't going off. There weren't people coming in my door. There weren't emails popping up over here. There wasn't all this, there wasn't all this noise. There wasn't all this interruption. So if you're a solopreneur, where can you set that kind of time aside for you? And if that means, time aside away from family, take a night and do it overnight. You would be
And
amazed at how much you can get done.
right, exactly. And here's the thing, I don't recommend everybody pull overnighters, right? Because we got to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves and we have to be healthy. If it's something that you are able to do, then do it. If it's something that you are not able to do, block your Fridays.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to be mad that they can't book an appointment with you on Friday. Nobody's going to be mad that it's Friday and you have a hard boundary of between 9 a.m. and noon I don't talk to anybody, they're going to understand that. And you can say, if I do 4 hours of work for my business, because here's what
Yeah.
Linda and I are talking about. We're not talking about focusing on your clients. That's easy. we're, we're
That just comes with the territory, right?
yeah,
That's
we're not
that's what
talking
you
about
do.
focusing on what you're getting paid to do. We're talking about focusing on how do you market yourself? How do you build your email funnels? How do you take care of building your programs that you give to your clients? How do you When do you spend the time doing the things and the business and your accounting? When do you do your accounting? I can tell you I don't. Um, and I don't have a bookkeeper, so that's not a good thing. When do you take those times? When are you actually doing the business that is going to create the residual? Because if you're just doing the business in the moment, then you are
Then you
going
don't
to
have any
lose
clients.
the
Yeah.
residual and you're going to lose the follow-up clients and you're going to lose the retention of the clients. So you need to take, and I say needed. You all know I don't like to say need because I always tell
Yeah.
people what aligns with you.
Yeah.
However, if you're not aligning with a time to do your business, it's thrive or die. What are you going to do? Is your business going to survive or is it going to flounder? And are
Think of it.
you
Yeah.
going to be emotional? How are you going to be emotionally connected to that? Because thriving in a business means you get to thrive. Floundering in a business means that you have to paddle to stay above water. We don't want that for you. We want you to take the time to thrive and grow.
And think of it as self-care for your business. Because otherwise you have that roller coaster ride of, okay, I've got a client, I'm going to spend all of my time working with this client. And then when that work is done, now you have to start promoting again. You need to have that cycle.
You should
And
be booked out months in advance. That way you're
and you
never
should
out of
yeah,
work.
and you should be each day should have a time set aside for those kind of activities that are filling the pipeline and making sure that you are in front of people and talking to potential clients or even potential renewals to make sure that there's always something in the pipeline. That's the feast or famine is not the way to go. I mean, people like a roller coaster ride, but not for life. That, you know, that's a fun activity. That's not a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you want to be able
And
to
go for
have
it,
some
Linda.
time. Yeah, you want to be able to have some time for yourself and for keeping your business healthy, keeping you healthy, and thriving where you're at.
What I love about that too is when you're in the space of where are we? What are we doing? You had mentioned, set time aside every day. Sometimes people can't set time
Yeah,
aside every day. Um, but make something that aligns for you. Maybe
yeah.
I wake up at 4 a.m., I work my other job, I have a little bit of a time before I start with my meetings. I get that little bit of time, but I just got done cutting back my hours so I could have Friday afternoon off. What aligns with you? And I know that on Friday afternoon, people are already used to me not talking to them because I used to work the other job. So I know that that's a boundary that's going to be set. So figure out how you can do that and how you can help others. But help yourself and hold that boundary. If you work in an office, I used to network with somebody. I told her to put a note on her door. Hey, send me an email. I'll reach out in an hour. No, if somebody is offended that you are asking for time and space to get caught up, then what are they doing? Maybe you could delegate to them. Because if they have
If they got
time,
extra time, yeah. You know,
maybe you can delegate to them.
yeah. And politely set your boundaries. I mean, if it's, you're working on a project, you know, or you could even put in a meeting. We used to be able to do that because we had lots of virtual meetings with groups around the country when we were implementing one of the things we were implementing, and we would just we would just put a note on the outside of the cubicle, we're in a meeting for the next hour, and put the time that we were supposed to be done, and they knew they couldn't interrupt that meeting because you weren't just interrupting me, you were interrupting everybody else in that meeting.
Right.
So, if you work for someone else, find out what works within the parameters for you to be able to do to honor that space for an amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to do those things. So, everybody, we are at the end of our live, and Linda and I could talk all day. Um, but I love you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Really look at where you can take the time. QR codes are on that side. We're going to do it. So, head over there, book with Linda, figure out your peak performance, really figure out what you're doing with your business. Book with me if you need some objective key results. And go to thebizstorming.net. Create a community where you can find a team and help you in these struggles. That's why Linda and I work so well together. Is we can say, "Hey, everybody, I'm struggling," and they give us tons of ideas. So
Yeah,
look
you're
forward
not
to seeing
alone.
everybody.
You're not
Yeah,
alone. So reach out.
you are
That's what
not
we're here
alone.
for.
We will see
What
you
you're going
all.
through, we've all gone through. So we'll see y'all next week.
We will see you all next week, and you're not alone. We've gone through it too. Bye.